Hello there, Oko here again. Back to talk some more Lords of the Fallen. Surprise, surprise. I'm so deep in this game right now, I can't even believe it. Anyway, so since my last video, I've been watching a couple of reviews of the game, and I've been quite surprised by the mixed response. Some people really love it, like I do, but some people really seem to hate it, and I was curious to understand why. So I compiled a couple of points people made, some common critiques, and I thought I'd play a little devil's advocate, but also confirm some of the things they say because I've also brought them up. It also made me really wonder, like, why do I like this game? So I tried to consider what I actually enjoy about the game and try to motivate that. So that's a two-part video, and yeah, let's get into it. So, the thing that I've always seen in these reviews, and which a point that I brought up, and obviously the devs have picked up on, is the mob density. And I'm actually patching the game right now with the patch that they made to reduce mob density in certain areas, so we'll see if I notice a difference. But I totally agree with this. There are too many mobs, and the game is made for exploration, but the enemies don't allow you to, so I think it would be good if they fix that a bit. So I totally agree with that point that I've seen pretty much every reviewer bring up. Then it's one thing that I think is more subjective. It's the bosses. So some people seem to not really enjoy the bosses. I really did, but I approached the game in a different way as well. So when I see a lot of streamers and YouTubers play these types of games, they go in with the mindset that they need to beat the game, they need to win, complete the game, right? I think more along the lines of learning the game, right? So for instance, when I play a boss and I'm not satisfied with the progression I've made, even though I can win, I let them kill me so I can replay and understand the boss. Because that's how I determine if I think a boss is well designed, right, in this game. If I keep playing, understanding the mechanics, see if I'm doing something wrong, what I can do better, to see if I get rewarded from learning. And I thought that you did mostly, and the majority of the bosses in this game, you really did. So it's more of a subjective thing. I can understand if some people just want to sort of beat the bosses and get through it. I think they're pretty easy though. So maybe that's also what people don't enjoy about the bosses. Now that's also subjective, obviously, and determined on your build, because I'll give some input on that on my dagger only video. I'm doing a playthrough of using daggers now, my second playthrough, and some bosses all of a sudden feel different and a bit more difficult, right? So that's another point some people have brought up. And then it's forward momentum. I saw this more on Reddit. I went on the Lords of the Fallen Reddit, joined there to see, and there are people criticizing the game pretty heavily there as well. The forward momentum when you swing your weapon is you do go forward quite a lot, and that can be a negative and a positive. So, like I mentioned, I'm doing a dagger only run right now, and the forward momentum is a lifesaver. Because in Elden Ring, for instance, if you're using double daggers, you can barely hit most bosses. Or it's difficult to, because you have no forward momentum, right? And there I would like some. And in Lords of the Fallen, it's been really fun, because not only, I'm going to get into that later on why I like the game, not only are the mechanics made more for you to be able to do that, but also the forward momentum helps. But I can understand with some weapons that you wouldn't like it, because, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I got launched off like a bridge or something once or twice. Because of the forward momentum, but when I adjusted and understood that that's just gonna happen, right? You're gonna launch forward, so you have to account for that when you're playing the game. It didn't bother me at all. Now, this next part is more mechanical things that people seem to dislike about the game or don't understand. It's the compilations I've seen of people dying and raging. It's always the same things, and the top two things that people rage on is the jumping and falling off things. I think Gravity has claimed a lot of lives since this game came out, and also the mimics that insta-kill you. Right, so when it comes to jumping, people seem to think that you can't jump without sprinting, but that's not true at all. So if you stand still, press the sprint button and A, and flick forward and just let go of them, you'll just jump forward. And also, you won't do the insane rolling animation, which will cause you to roll off edges very easily. If you let go of forward, whatever forward key you have, right, mid-air, because you roll in this game when you're still holding forward. So stop holding forward if you just want to land, right, and not roll. And also, if you stand still, just pretty much just press the jump and A button and just let go. And when it comes to the mimics, I understand that they are frustrating. They killed me several times in my playthrough. So if you don't know what I mean by mimic, it's the fake items that pretty much insta-kill you. A big moth comes out and at least drags you into Umbral if it doesn't insta-kill you, right? And I saw a video of someone accidentally doing this, but you can actually insta-kill them before that happens. If you bring out your lamp and do the right trigger, I think, to pull them out, they just stay dead and you get some loot out of it. But, you know, the game doesn't tell you that. And if it does, it's sort of hidden in the tutorial, I guess, that you can read in your inventory. But most people don't do that. So the next point is the animation when you're picking up your lost vigor or your souls. Like if you die and you want to reclaim them, there's an animation. But again, you can cancel this animation by dodging. And it's like, it would be better, obviously, if there was no animation. It's not needed. But you can cancel out of it. You don't have to stand there just waiting, right? Like I see a lot of people do. And people don't know that. Again, mechanical thing that the game doesn't tell you. And then there are the complaints about the Vestige Seeds and the Vestiges being too few. And the manual spawn system sort of being, you know, not that engaging. I sort of agree with that because I struggled to engage with the mechanic on my first playthrough because I never knew when to put them down, and whenever I did, there was always a better spot just ahead or an actual vestige. So I can agree with that, but I didn't know how to get more, right? Now I do. So there are enemies in Umbral that almost always drop them, so the flying guys that spawn a bunch of mobs, if you kill them, you will often get a Vestige Seed, and every single time I've killed one of these big ball guys with faces that open up and stuff, they always drop a Vestige Seed, so I'm capped out all the time now. I'm not even stingy about putting them out, so it's more tolerable now. It's fine, I would say. But considering that, you know, they want to remove them in New Game Plus, and I'm pretty sure they wanted to have that as a default from the beginning, because the world is interconnected, so you can run around the world pretty seamlessly if you know the way, but it's a pretty large world, so it's going to be difficult to navigate until you play the game a couple of times. Now, this next part is me telling you why I love this game. And the previous video I made was more of a ramble after I just finished the game, so it wasn't all that nuanced. But since watching these reviews and thinking, why do people like this game? Why do people dislike this game? Well, why do I like this game? So I wrote down some points and let's get to it. So, parrying. I love that you can parry with any weapon combination in this game, right? It doesn't matter if you're using a dual-wield dagger setup, a great sword, or a shield. You can block and parry. Obviously a shield's going to be better at blocking, but when you do block or parry, you gain withered damage, which is sort of temporary damage that you can gain back by attacking. As long as you don't get hit, you'll keep that HP, right? So the game is pretty fast-paced and rewards your aggressiveness that way. So I recommend learning how to parry. It feels really cool, especially with a dagger. So, next point. Majority of bosses, like I said, are well designed. I think they're satisfying and fun to learn the moveset and mechanics of. Your build is going to determine which boss is difficult and fun, which I've discovered doing a second playthrough. But majority of bosses are well designed. Some exceptions, obviously, but that's always the case. The world aesthetic is amazing. I love the sort of dark fantasy gothic vibe of the world, from the castles to the weapons and armor, the enemies. Fantasy is probably my favorite genre, so probably my Lord of the Rings nerd coming up. Next part is very important for me. build variety. So replayability is really important for me, and build variety sort of blends into that. It was apparent on my first playthrough that you could build your characters in so many different ways, because as soon as I find a new armor set or weapon or spell, I just immediately wanted to do a 180 and completely respec and everything. And I haven't even finished the game and I'm already planning my next character, right? So that's really awesome. Next point is the weapon combos and the spell casting. I really enjoy it in this game, and comparatively from Elden Ring, you sort of trade the weapon slots, so multiple weapon slots that you have in Dark Souls, for instance, for weapon combos. You can dual wield, but only one weapon in each hand, right? But you can start an attack dual wielding, and then mid-swing switch to two-handing your right-hand weapon to continue the combo. And that makes for some really fun matchups, or mix-ups, sorry. And it almost reminds me of fighting games. So that's pretty cool. And you can also spell cast without having to use like a staff or whatever in your left hand or right hand. You can use quick cast, which is more fluid because you only hold the trigger and then press a quick button to cast instead of cycling through spell slots. That's I think Elden Ring has the coolest spells, but the way you use them isn't that fun, in my opinion. Or they could be more fun. And I think more along the lines of Lords of the Fallen is where we should go. This is a small thing, but enchanting your weapons with salts, or enchanting them with your spells to give them fire or bleed or poison, right? You do it on both weapons if you dual wielding. I don't know why that's not the case in like Elden Ring, but it should be. It's a small thing, but it's pretty cool. Again, dual wielding in this game is really fun. One point which is pretty general, but it feels really rewarding when you learn the game. So besides bosses, obviously, just normal mobs as well. So you know these Reaper types in Umbral that go underground and pop up on you? In my first playthrough, whenever I saw one of those, I just turned around and run like a little sissy, right? And now it's the roles reversed, baby. I see them, I just parry, stab them, and never see them again. So it's really fun to feel like you've learned to become better at the game, right? And it's other things as well, like controls, areas, and whatnot. And the last point, the platforming and the puzzles, while simple, they're engaging and fun enough. You find hidden stuff in new areas, and they do the job. Nothing to write home about. That's why it's my last point. But they could be really frustrating, but they're not. They could be more complex, but that could also be at the detriment of the game. So there are some things I haven't tried in the game yet, PvP being one of them. So I'll dive into that eventually. I only got invaded once in this game, and I died before he could get to me anyway. So I can't say much about that. And I'm looking forward to trying co-op, but I haven't yet either. So I can't give my points on that part of the game. So what do you think? What are your critiques and what do you like about the game? Also, please tell me your build for your first playthrough. I think it's really interesting to see what people do out there. It's fun to engage with the comments, and I read them all, obviously. I'm making a video on dual wield daggers. I'll show my build and my thoughts on the matter in my next video, probably. So thanks a lot for watching and listening to me. See you around. Bye bye.